Okay, so we are recording. So good morning, Ed and Jerome. Good. Just to explain, we were cutting up this in a badly edited way. So this is the third part and the last part of our chat this week, which we will post on Friday morning. So there was obviously about 1,000 people saw the first one, which for me I'm thrilled about, because the more people that hear your voice, your inspirational voices, I think the better. And we did have people commenting from New Zealand, Australia, America, etc. So it's lovely to think that that we have a reach like that through a system like this in Zoom. Anyway, as I said the other day, this is not about my voice, so I need to shut up and let you guys talk. But we did end, Ed, the other day mid-sentence because Jerome froze on us. And we ended up with you saying that I was saying it's your responsibility. I don't know that I should be saying that, but I was not really a responsibility. I feel that we don't have a voice here in Ireland really yet. We're hearing some people on the radio. There's no real, whereas you two are so, I think, inspirational, like wonderful people, such good living people. You've beautiful families, and you've a really big opinion on this. And I think we all need to hear, like, we don't have our own Oprah here that we can listen to. And I've just watched her whole webinar yesterday with all the strong Black voices in America. So I kind of think you two guys maybe need to start something. But anyway, Ed, if I could switch to you now, because you said, I was saying to you, you should be on the Late Late Show, you should be on the Claire Byrne Show, and get your voices heard, because we don't know, we're too stupid, the white race, to know what's next, considering we've put Black people through 400 years, and not only Black people, there's so much racism in the world. But you were invited onto the Claire Byrne Show for a different reason. Do you want to just finish that story that you started?
Yeah, basically it was around the Irish soccer team. And I believe one of the players had received a lot of racial insults and abuse on social media on Twitter. And at the time I was so upset, because a number of times you would be sitting at a sporting event, it doesn't have to be football, and you get comments from different people, and you cannot help but sit there and wonder, have they ever kicked a ball? Have they ever played a sport? What level they play? Do they understand the tactics of the game? But yet and still, they'll sit there. And I know we're in an area that we're at a time where everyone's opinion, and we want to be PC sometimes, and everyone can excuse a bit of a outburst on the pitch or on the terraces or on the court. But when you attack someone and you hide behind your Twitter account, what's it called? Is it called trolling someone or whatever? Mm-hmm. I'm catching up on social media. I'm trying to keep up with it. But that's what happened to Cyrus Christie. And I was just asked to go on the Claire Byrne, and I thought about it. I had to wait till I really sort of settled down, because I know I would have said something not so correct on national TV. And my good wife Ann said, "Nah, don't go on there," and I didn't.
Okay.
Basically the story there,
Okay, so Jerome, you have a view now on, so there's one picture in America and the Oprahs of the world and all of these fabulous American voices. I've sent you some links over the last few days, like, of amazing girls speaking in, Black girls getting their point across, and amazing people. And that gorgeous big guy, Killer, what's his name? Killer George, is that what his name is? The big black, is he a football player? He was on, his uncle is a police officer.
Shaquille O'Neal, or who is it now?
I'm not, yeah, I think so, yeah. And anyway, I was watching all of these different clips that are flying around. But as you say, Jerome, there's a different picture now. There's a different picture in Ireland than there is in America. So you have to handle it in a different way. Is that right? Do you feel that?
Well, I'm when we were talking about the movement, we're talking about how everyone is now wondering, what is next? And I'm saying that we have to ask that question here in Ireland. That it's not necessarily what's next for us in America, but what's next for us in Ireland in regards to taking advantage of this movement where people are ready to take action and be activists. And we need to then address what we see as the problems that we're facing regarding racism. Ed just pointed out, in sport, and we've all viewed the big no to racism in sports. For another issue for us that we've read in the media for years now in Ireland is probably the main one would be direct provision, and the whole area how we're seeing a huge community that's not just Black, but a community that's facing racism, and in a system that the human impact is causing racism there. The direct provision as a system, whereas it's involved in a degree of racism, it was never its intent to do that, but the resulting impact is exacerbating racism. So I'm saying we need to now think about what we can do, because racism here in Ireland is not as entrenched as it is in America. We have an opportunity, and I've said it for years, that we have an opportunity to nip it in the bud. The 400 years we've talked about in America has it so deep rooted that even now, for what's next in America, still involves this maintenance program of the bush of racism there. Whereas the growth here in Ireland is one that we can nip it in the bud, not let it get rooted in. And so what's next for us? And as Ed said there, what groups can we, be involved in, from the, areas of how we address it at youth level. You talked about my daughter-in-law's article in regards to, parents with their kids, sport. And so that's, that would be, my concern, what my focus of where, what can I do next?
Okay, there was a Black young guy on the radio yesterday, and I think he was playing soccer here, and I don't know whatever happened anyway on the pitch, but somebody shouted at him to go back to the cotton fields where he came from. He was telling this story yesterday on the radio. So shamefully, somebody shouted that from the sidelines. So I suppose when these things now happen, like literally, they have to stop the match and cancel the match. Is that what should happen? The players should just walk off the pitch, because people are standing listening to that a little bit embarrassed, and then they get on with the game, or they don't do anything. But so we really do have to react to everything now like that and just stamp it out. Is that what you guys would think should happen?
Yes, Debbie. I mean, let's see now. There have been different incidents here involving sports. The one that stands out over the years would have been, now you guys help me, and Jerome, he was a hurdler for Cork. Sean Halpin. Yeah, received racial abuse. Jason Sherlock for the Dubs received racial abuse from the pitch. There's a famous story about my own son, Darren. Darren, in a county final, had a bit of abuse playing for Bray Emmets up in Auckland one day, playing in a county final. But one sad story was, and this happened, I think, was it last year, where at under 14, with parents on the sideline, the manager of both teams, a young Black kid, abuse was thrown at this kid or spoken at this kid from the time they started to warm up, during the game, after the game. And there were parents on both sides who did absolutely nothing. And I find just, Now, there's a scene and there's a movie there involving Samuel L. Jackson. The movie is A Time for Killing. Now, hopefully some of the people watching have heard of the movie A Time for Killing. But if you haven't, I suggest have a look at the movie. And they're prosecuting these guys who happen to be white, and they would have brutally beaten, kidnapped, raped, everything, this young black girl. And the defense attorney who's trying to free Samuel Jackson, who takes out his revenge on one of the defendants by shooting him with a shotgun. And basically, at the end of the story, he goes through the whole thing about the little girl, what they did to her. And at the end of the story, he says, now everyone here, imagine if this black girl was white. And everyone's eyes opened up and went, oh my God, that could be my sister. That could be my niece, my granddaughter. And that's what people have to think. They have to start to put themselves in that situation. Understand what it feels like to be treated that way.
Yeah, they did that thing Oprah showed us yesterday, the brown eye test and the blue eye test. I think they tested people and they treated them badly. They separated them going into the Oprah show, and brown eyed people, they were mostly white, but brown eyed people were treated badly and they didn't get the coffee and the buns and all the rest of it. And it was an experiment they were doing. And it showed how angry and annoyed they were over not being treated as well as the blue-eyed. It's an experiment that's been going on for years. And it was showing the annoyance and the anger. And that was just, as Oprah said, like one tiny, tiny incident, you know? So can I just ask you a couple of things that just popped up on Facebook yesterday? And they are, I suppose, what people are talking about, and you see it coming up and down. I don't know if it's too shallow even for the conversation, but when they start dealing with things like Gone with the Wind, and they're talking about taking it down now because it's showing Mammy and she's, you know, helping her with her corsets and all. And it's a film that we all adored, no matter, I mean, shamefully, I don't know, but we all adored the film back in its day. And it's so what are your thoughts on this type of thing happening, that they're going to start taking away all that kind of stuff so that we no longer see blacks being treated as slaves? What are your thoughts on that, Ed?
Debbie, to be honest with you, if something is really, really offensive, maybe, you know, you can have a discussion about it. You can talk about it. Okay, let the people decide. Examples recently, I think there was a statue in Bristol in England. They pulled it over, protest into the water.
Slave trader.
Yeah, this particular individual was a slave trader. In America, South Carolina, just recently, the big clash between white separatists or white nationalists and you know, black supporters or who wanted to bring down the Confederate flag. Last night, President Trump was on about not removing, I think, Fort Bragg, Fort Benning. These are military bases that were named after Confederate, you know, colonels. And basically, one side says, hey, the North won, we won the war, so why shouldn't we? And they stood for slavery. They want to keep slavery in the South, where in the northern states, they want to abolish slavery. I think, like the Holocaust, it's a part of history. And I think it's fine to let it stay there. You know, what's done is done now, okay? Now, also yesterday, NASCAR, and supposedly NASCAR would have been a little bit, they would have more of, I guess, followers of either President Trump, or they would be okay with waving the American flag at NASCAR, but also waving the Confederate flag. Now, I believe what happened yesterday, NASCAR banned the flag, the Confederate flag, at all NASCAR events. Now, we all know that Cork is a rebel county. And it did come up here once, I think, where fans at Gaelic football matches were waving the rebel flag, which is a Confederate flag. I don't know if anyone in Cork understands the history behind the Confederacy attached to slavery, attached to racism. You know? So once again, I'm fine. And see, people in Ireland, and I can relate to, we live in Ireland, and we want to make Ireland a better place for everyone. But it's just like in the North with the Troubles. No one wants to, you know, infringe on your rights to march, your rights to protest, your right to celebrate a particular holiday. But you know, if you were the Klan, Ku Klux Klan, and you wanted to march over the bridge in Selma, Alabama, well, then you know you're going to you're going to meet some controversy. You're going to meet opposition. It's the same thing in Ireland. It's okay to march in the North, but why are you going to march through a predominantly Catholic area? You know, it's almost like you're waving a red flag to a bull, totally disrespecting someone else's rights.
Sorry, I'm going to close my door for 1 second. My dog is annoying me.
That's okay, Deb. So, you know, that's where I'm from. You know, live and let live. And hopefully people understand this and just are really, you know, they understand different people's views and culture as opposed to, you know, and I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't be in favor of just tearing down some of the statues and monuments in America, because to a lot of Americans, it can serve as a positive. Because I've said to my own two sons, when we're going back and visiting in my hometown of Tallahassee, I said, you know, my mother or my grandmother, God rest their souls, you know, they could take you to an old oak tree, and they could describe the story and tell you a story where someone may have been hung or strung up.
Okay.
For not really committing a serious crime.
Yes. So there's a benefit to the history, you're saying, of some of this stuff. To stand there and, you know.
Just like in the Jewish community. Yep. And also like here with Irish history.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Jerome?
Well, I know, like, you know, the statue in Bristol, Old Glory. I think people are, you know, what I think is that anything that maybe symbolizes the oppression,
yep,
maybe has to go. You know, and I think about the Nazi war camps that are still there.
Yeah.
So that we never forget.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so where's the balance, I guess? But I definitely wouldn't want those things that symbolizes the oppression. Now, the movie Gone with the Wind, does that symbolize oppression? I don't think so. You know, and I think we have to kind of be careful. Mm-hmm. Going forward. Some of it is, I think, it's very clear cut. I don't want to see Old Glory, you know.
Now, when you say Old Glory,
the Confederate flag.
Well, there you go. I just wanted to, because some people listening may not know.
I wouldn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Old Glory, definitely Confederate flag, because that's trouble. And see,
so that completely symbolizes the oppression to you, Jerome. Is that right?
Yeah.
Completely symbolizes it.
Well, Debbie, I'll give you an example now. In the South, in my hometown of Tallahassee, Florida, growing up, you see young white guys, teenage guys, because you can drive at 16, 17. The police is one thing, but a pickup truck with a gun rack in it, with a 30-30 shotgun or 12-gauge shotgun and a Confederate flag hanging in it on a Friday evening, driving in a particular whatever road, and you're young black guys walking, whatever else, you see that truck from a distance and you become very, very uneasy because you don't know what's the next thing, what's going to happen. And once again, those invisible lines, like, where are you? Which side of the town you on? What your state or what your neighborhood you're in? You better be like aware of where you are. And I don't know, some people, your listeners, have ever been put in that situation, or their kids put in that situation where they have to be streetwise at a very early age, or you could be in trouble.
Yeah. I watched, there's a beautiful 2020 speech out at the moment. I know Oprah did one, but Lady Gaga did one 2 days ago. And she did it for the graduation class of 2020. And if you haven't listened to it, you should listen to it. She's talking about this whole situation, and because she's kind of creative and visual, she compares it to a forest that has been built with huge trees with, you know, racism in their roots. And she kind of uses that whole analogy, and she talks about now is the time to get rid of those trees and get rid of those roots and to plant new seeds and new trees that don't have any racism in their roots. And she uses this huge, and she is a powerful voice because obviously she's millions of followers. So she's white, I think. Is she? Yeah, I think she's, I'm not quite sure actually what race she is or where she's from. But she's talking, it's a brilliant speech. You should watch it, and many will watch it, which is fantastic because her message is really, really clear. There was a little black girl on the stage. I watched George Floyd's funeral the other day, which, like, to me was like just something. It was like I don't know what it was like. It was so dramatic. I think between the masks and the drama and the singing was just off the scale, like powerful kind of stuff. But the whole thing was so dramatic. But a little girl got up on the stage. I'm not sure who she was. She was one of his relatives. And she just said, with all the preachers saying all big words and big inspirational stuff, she said, I don't know why they call America great, because America has never been great. And, you know, if you think that as long as America is there, from the very beginning, they were dragging in black slaves in chains. So it has never, she's absolutely right when she said that, I think, because it has never been great. You know, they sell it as great, definitely. There's disgusting footage on CNN this morning of white, I don't know what they are, I don't know what word I'd even use for them, and they're kneeling on each other's neck. I don't know if you saw it on CNN this morning. They're Trump supporters, and they're showing that it's okay to kneel on somebody's neck, basically. And they're doing this to people who are marching past. And it's the most inflammatory thing to do to the crowd that are going past. So I agree, Jerome. They definitely have a huge, I do think it's a moment of reckoning in America now. I don't think the black people are going to let this go. But I think in Ireland, we should all do what we can to nip it in the bud. I think you're absolutely right, Jerome. I just don't know that we know what to do. Like, I read stuff the other day that Emily wrote that just never entered my head before. You know, children shouldn't be watching Frozen, it's too white. Children should be watching Doc Mac stuff, and whatever it is, all those small things that you'd be thinking of, black dolls in the house or whatever, don't touch, you know, black children's hair. She mentioned in the article, obviously people do touch it, and because she said it, I would never even think of that. Maybe we're too stupid, but like for 400 years, you've been putting up with our white arrogance and supremacy. So, you know, we think we're better than everybody because we've taken. It's shocking to me that I think we need to do something, maybe all our schools. I don't know whether we should consider a program in all of our schools. Is that where you two guys, like, should you be going into classrooms? I mean, your children are all so articulate. Is it their battle? Whose battle is this to try and change it now?
Well, it's our battle. How we go about, like I said, how we go about the battle. You know, I was just thinking about the website of PresidentObama.org, and he said, attacking the anguish with action. And for us here in Ireland, there's a lot of information out there. And the early episode, I think I gave a lot of different links, and I was just looking at here the integration.ie website here in Ireland. You know, as far as there's so many areas of information, and this particular integration.ie talks about tackling racism and discrimination through integration. You know, and believe it or not, Ireland was one of the first countries to really put together a program of a national action plan against racism, and was and so I mean, this particular plan is there that might give us individually some real direction of things that we might be able to do more on a ground level. But it's a matter of really taking the action to research and then taking our own experiences and our resources and networks to say, okay, this is how we can take the first step in our own communities, you know, in going forward with love in mind.
Yeah.
I didn't even know. I mean, I'm not aware of anything like that here because I just have never even looked at it before, because I suppose in our arrogance, we just get on with life and we don't really care. I do work in a DESH school in Dublin, and we would have quite a few Black children and different cultures in the school that have come into Ireland. There's Polish, there's you know, there's different children, different colors, you know, every color there. And I was talking to two of them the other day. They were here in the house and I was having a chat with them about this whole subject. And you were the hero, Ed, that when they discovered your son was the best soccer player in Ireland, so they tell me anyway.
Oh.
And so that automatically put you on a pedestal. But I was talking to them about, both of these children that I was talking to are white, and I was saying to them, what is it like? What is the racism like? And they were saying, well, we go to school together and we are friends, but if there's a fight, then the racial slurs come straight out. That's when they hear it, I suppose, the N word or the whatever they're calling, you know, that's when they hear it most, is when there's, like, if they decide to fight with each other, that's when the whole thing breaks down. But they said it's really, really a problem, that it's not, it does exist. Like, I was asking them, does it exist? And they said, absolutely exists, you know? So I suppose we need maybe to look at, as you say, Jerome, is there programs that we can, I mean, when, you know, when George Floyd called out for his mother, I mean, I'm serious when I say, like, I think all mothers around the world thought, oh my God, there's, you know, a cry to us all. I'm a mother. I know your fathers and all the rest of it, but what do we do as white mothers in Ireland to make this situation so that it doesn't exist for our grandchildren, our children and our grandchildren in this country? Let's nip it in the bud, you know. So I'd love to, you know, really, I'd be very happy to put my voice on a committee, and I hate committees. I've been on too many of them in my life, but I think this is something we need to eradicate from our country.
Yeah, and we said it in the very beginning, what we're doing now in regards to talking and dialogue, it is what we'll have to continue doing with everyone that we're involved with, our families, like I said, within the schools. We have to talk about the issues, talk about what's right and what's wrong, you know, and move forward in that way. That's what I'm going to try to do.
Okay, well, we'll wrap up, I suppose, by, if that's what you're going to try and do. Well, we all need to put our shoulders together. Ed, what have you words of advice? I mean, I don't even know if I'm supposed to be asking for words of advice, but I mean, we're different colors. Give us, I don't know what's.
Well, in my life, and I see this now, and I consider the Kennedys, I consider John Hume in Ireland, I consider you, Debbie, people who are white, who are willing to stand up and say, do the right thing. That's what I was saying. People who are out, or who happen to listen to this, who are happen to be white, give us some thought. Just don't shrug it off, because until the whole world, you know, the white world, so to speak, until they realized that, and see, most Black people, they're not looking for, you know, a basket case, or, you know, because there's some proud people out there. They don't want charity. All they want is to be allowed to live as equal life. You know, a bit of humanity, and that's it. Plain and simple. Yeah. And that's one thing when I first came to Ireland that I picked up right away. Whether you're someone working in a chip shop or whether you're the bin guys collecting, people respected you for your job. And years later, I found Ireland's changing a little bit. You know, there could be a bit of social, economic, like your address or which area you come from or live from. You know, so people started to look at someone differently because, as opposed to looking at the, you know, the old saying about judge a book by its cover. People started assuming and sort of putting people in certain, certain little boxes or area. But you're going to need more white people to actually start to understand that and ask themselves. And it's not that, some people will obviously probably, with all the marching going on, the protest, there are people out there who will probably say, Debbie or Jerome, what's this about? Oh, come on. Stop crying. Stop moaning. Take a minute. Take even 30 seconds. Put yourself in a situation of a person of color. Doesn't have to be a black person. Could be Hispanic. Could be Indian. In India, how would you like to be born into a caste system? You're there for life. No way you can get out of that caste system.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it, plain and simple. Love humanity.
Okay, well, I want to just thank both of you anyway for the influence you've had on my son and all his friends, because you've made him and them into the boys and men that they are today. You've had a huge influence over all of them. Jerome, particularly, you were his coach for years, and I think you still play basketball with him at times.
Yeah.
Although he might think you're too old at this stage, but that's ageism, not racism. That's a whole different story. But no, you've had a huge influence on so many hundreds, if not thousands, of children in Ireland through all your summer camps. I mean, you're just a hero to us that know you. So that's really why I just wanted to hear your voice, because I think the whole thing is very upsetting conversation, because it's just shocking that we respect people less because of the color of their skin. So,
well, I just see you guys, if I get an invitation to go back on one of the chat shows, I will definitely invite you, because I think you definitely need, like I said before, black, white, people of different colors, ethnicity to come together to discuss it.
Okay.
To try a message out there. What can we do to make Ireland a better place for everyone?
Yes, I think Maya Angelou said something like, can we do better,
Mm-hmm.
So can we do better?
So Debbie, you and I will become part of Ed's entourage?
Yeah, I'll do his makeup and you can do his hair if he gets on the, if you're going on Oprah, Ed, I'm definitely going with you, okay?
Well, listen, I'll tell you this now. We're all equal.
Exactly.
No star status, Jerome. Okay?
Absolutely. Listen, thanks guys for everything. And I'm in the pot. You can use me for anything you need me for.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
God bless.
Bye.
Bye.